You are now listening to the Building Her Dream podcast, where we have inspiring conversations with introverted women entrepreneurs who are building their dream lives and businesses on their own terms. Hosted by business operations strategist, author, and the founder of Building Her Dream, Shayla Burton. To learn more about this podcast and our magazine, visit www.buildingherdream.com. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the Building Her Dream podcast. I'm your host and lifelong introvert, Shayla Burton, and I'm so excited to chat with today's guest. She is Heather Asiyanbi, owner and founder of Pens Improve Ghostwriting Services, and she's from Wisconsin, my home state. Hello, Heather. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Shayla. Thank you for having me. And not just Wisconsin, but we're Milwaukee, like
Yes.
the
Yeah.
economic engine of our state.
Right, exactly. And it's really cool to chat with somebody who I can see in person as well if I want to.
Right. We can meet at Corner Bakery.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Now, I always like to start off with a fun question. Let's kind of dream together. So, if you could wake up tomorrow and have your perfect dream life, what would that look like for you?
My perfect dream life really consists of time freedom so that I'm doing what I want, when I want, where I want, and with whom I want. Which is kind of what spurred me to become an entrepreneur in the first place, right? So even though, yes, working for yourself takes a lot of hours, right? It takes a lot of hours, a lot of effort, a lot of energy. What it still does though is it gives me that flexibility. So my granddaughter lives upstairs from me. And so if she wants to come downstairs at 4 o'clock when she gets home from daycare or school, like I'm not stuck with um, an employer's time clock. I can block that time out every day if I want to spend a couple hours with her. And to me, that's most important than, you know, going to work and working for someone else. Like there is stability in that, but there's not as much freedom. And the freedom means more to me. And so waking up and living my dream life, I'm kind of already doing that because I have that time freedom. But also I always dreamed of having, so I was married for 26 and a half years. And when I was contemplating leaving the marriage, I considered the life and like I really tried to visualize what I wanted that life to look like. And part of what I visualized is having this really supportive circle of fierce, funny, creative, and wickedly smart women around me, both in my tight circle and just like, in concentric circles as a community. And I have built that. And so in a lot of ways, I'm already living my dream life. Because I have both of those things. I have more time freedom than I thought I could have. And I have this amazing group of women, and you're part of that in my circle. So I'm kind of already doing that. I mean, would I like more money? I mean, winning the lottery would not suck. Okay. Like, let's just put that out there. But you have to play to win, and I don't. So there's that.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely can agree with that. Time freedom for me, that's super important.
Yeah,
I don't have any kids or anything, but I love being at home doing nothing, or
that
if
is
I
the
want to go
best.
out and do something, yeah,
Yeah.
having the option to
Hmm.
to do that is
Hmm.
really important to me, and it's kind of difficult when you have a 9 to 5 job, like you're stuck
Yeah,
at the office.
when
Mhm.
I hear my friends who have 9 to 5s, and I'm not trying to disparage them, like that's their choice and that's great. But when I hear them talking about, oh, I had to request time off, I'm like, ugh, ugh. I'm not
Yeah,
requesting time off. I'm just going. Like, no.
exactly.
And then I've even heard that people are, corporate workers or 9 to 5 workers are redefining PTO not for personal time off, but prepare the others because they
Mm,
look at it as not a request. Like I'm telling you, I'm going to go and I'm just letting you know that we have to prepare the team that I'll be gone. But even that just Like, ugh.
I get that. It's funny hearing about the prepare the others because that's how I felt when I was working and I wrote about it in my book before I started my business about how I would request time off for a vacation, but
Mhm.
my plane tickets and my hotel were already booked, so I was
Right.
going no matter what.
No matter what. Yeah. The time for you, and I get what you mean about, you don't have kids or grandkids, but I feel like I would feel the same way that you do, even without having kids and
Yeah,
grandkids to consider. There is something to be said for being able to just go outside. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, not as we're recording this, but you know what I mean?
right.
Like, just let's say it's a Wednesday at two
Yeah,
o'clock in the afternoon. I want to go for a walk and I want to be outside for an hour.
yeah,
Or I need to run to the store and I didn't want to do it this morning, so I'm going to go now, right? Like, there's freedom in that.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
because you and I have, we have laptop can travel, like
Mhm.
we can go somewhere else and work,
Right.
and I love that freedom aspect as well.
Me too. Now, the issue though is that many entrepreneurs don't actually have that time freedom
Yeah,
because we're working 24/7. Like we are, I guess chasing the money kind of. I think
always.
that's how I was in the beginning as well. I'm trying to get as many clients as I can, make
Mhm.
as much money as I can. But then when I had that full client roster, like I was not happy because I was working every single day and all day. And it's like, this is not what I signed up for. Like, if I wanted to work this hard, like, I could have just stayed working at a
Right.
9 to 5, and then at least I would have the weekends off and some vacation time. But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
I hear you on that. It is a weird, I don't know, not balanced I don't know, maybe balance is the word. I don't know. I don't believe there is such a thing as work-life balance. I think there's work-life harmony. And
yes.
so how do you get the pieces of your life to work together? And one of the things that I heard for the first time, oh, probably like 2 or 3 years ago, was you have to design your business around your life and not the other way around. And that to me was very eye-opening. I'm not saying I always like adhere to that because it's very easy to get caught up in things because if you're not doing client work, then you're trying to find clients, right?
Yep.
And even when you have a full roster of clients, you still have to find clients to take their place once your work with them is done. So it is I don't know, it's like a circle that it's like a hamster wheel, I guess, right? Like we're on a hamster wheel, to a
Yeah.
certain degree, but, um, I feel you on that 100%. I'm just not part of team hustle and team no sleep anymore. Like,
Me neither.
I can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely understand that. In my main business, that's actually what I help my clients do to get more freedom. And so the first thing that we talk about is what do we want their life to look like? Or
Hmm.
what do they want their life to look like? How often do they want to work? How hands-on do they actually really want to be in their business? And once we kind of map out that, then we kind of work backwards to figure out what changes and improvements need to be made in their business to get them to that freedom lifestyle that they're looking for.
Well, let me just tell everybody,
Yeah.
if you need help with operations or setting up systems, like Shayla is the person you need to talk to because she
Thank
helped
you.
me set up a bunch of systems and automations that made my life so much easier. So much easier. Like she said, and she did it in like so fast. She was like, she literally was like, she sent me a list. This is what I need. I sent it to her. Well, I was slow, I'm not gonna lie. I was a little slow on the uptake. So she was like, are you sending me? Are you sending me? And so once I got her what she was asking for, she had that set up like that. made my life super easy. So I'm just saying that what you like, I have experienced what you're saying about your business and I benefited. So thank you
That's
for helping
good.
me do that.
You're welcome, and thank you for saying that. Now, I was really interested in talking with you because you mentioned that you're not really an introvert, you are an ambivert,
Mhm.
and I'm not too familiar what that really means. So, why don't you tell us what that means?
So I think it can mean different things for different people, but for me, like I have a friend who's an extreme introvert. Like she says, when she says she's not going outside, she for real means that. Like she likes being in her house and she doesn't want to leave and she's okay with that.
Okay.
I get squirrely if I'm inside my house for too long, but like I can be there for like 3 days at a time, right? And that's okay with me. But then when I say I'm going outside, it's not like I'm going to, well, I'll use this as an example. My friend and I will go, let's say to happy hour, right? And we're surrounded by people, but we're not talking to them. We're not
Mm,
interacting with them. We have our little bubble and
okay.
then that's it. Then we're doing what we're doing. Maybe we're getting dinner, we're having a drink or two, and then we go home. Like that's it. Um, and I think introvert, extrovert might be a processing thing also, like how you process information. So I sometimes need to talk it out and not just process it internally, which I think a lot of introverts do. They don't talk to anybody, they just process their information internally. I need to talk it out because I think I know I have the answer. I just can't make that A-B dot connection
Right.
until I talk it out with somebody. So I think that's a primary difference, but also I do get energy from people. Like being out amongst people, I get energy. So even though I've been in my house for 3 days, like I'll start to feel my energy flagging and I know that I need to go work at the coffee shop. I'm not talking to anybody at the coffee shop. I just need the energy of other people around me to um kind of give me the power, lack of a better word, like the batteries, right? To help spark the creativity. Because in my business, as an editor and a ghostwriter, that takes a lot of creativity. That takes a lot of mental juice
Yeah.
to do, right? It's exhausting. Um, and so then being around other people as an energy source is helpful for me. But then I can
Okay.
go back inside for 3 days. So,
Mm,
it's one of the, I feel like I can it's a very either or situation. So I'm either alone all the time or I'm around people. But when I'm around people, then I have to go back and be alone to recharge. So before we started recording, you and I were talking about like being at a conference. Um,
mhm.
I can do that with the best of them. My energy stays high. I can exist on not as much sleep as I would normally get at home. Being around the people fills me with energy. I reciprocate with energy. Um, and it sustains me while I'm there. But as soon as I get home, like I am depleted, I am exhausted, and I can't like I need quiet and peace and to not talk to anyone or see anyone for a few days. So I think that's kind of how being an ambivert works for me because I'm not anti-peopling, but
Mhm.
I'm like selective peopling. I guess would be the best way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And introverts are not like anti-people or antisocial either,
Right.
which is some people seem to think that we are, but that's not true. It's just we get drained a lot faster being
Mhm.
around people. And you mentioned, like how you kind of need to be alone for some days. That happens to me. Like I host a networking event for introverts,
Mhm,
and I find it a lot of fun. I'm
mhm.
excited about it when it's happening, but the next day, my body is so drained.
Oh, I
Like
can
even if
imagine.
I went to bed early, got enough sleep, the next day I'm just so drained, like mentally and physically,
Mhm,
where I do need a day or two to just be by myself.
mhm.
Um, and I don't know that it's just so interesting how that works. So it's like when I'm doing it, I'm having a good time, but yeah,
Right.
it is draining for me as well.
What do you find most draining about it? Do you find it to be, because I feel like it's not just mentally draining, but it's emotionally draining because
Mm,
putting you're putting yourself into it, right? Like it's not just
yeah,
about energy, but it's also about, you know, trying to get people engaged or engaging with people. Like there's emotion part of it. And I think that is what drains me the most is the emotion part of it, and not, which I guess feeds into mental. I don't know. I feel like they're intertwined. Like
yeah.
they're very, together. I don't know.
And yeah, that may be something to it as well. So, like this past week has been really draining for me because I was having way too many conversations with people.
Mm,
Um,
mhm, mhm.
and not even just like verbal conversations, but through emails and text messages. It just was a lot for me this week where I thought, I don't know, I thought I was like on the verge of burnout or
Yeah.
having a breakdown or something just because it was too much people.
Mm.
Too, too,
Yeah. No, I mean, I hate to throw around the word breakdown so like too casually because I know people
yeah,
really do suffer from those, but honestly, um, like I'm at my friend's house, right? I'm not at my house because and I'm so grateful for her to letting me have this space, but you know, I I haven't lived by myself for more than 60 days since 1992.
mm,
Like the hell? That's like that's not how I pictured, you know,
yeah,
when I talk about my dream life, it's not that I mind having my daughter and my granddaughter around. Like I'm very grateful that that I have that opportunity and I
yeah,
get to participate in their lives on a daily basis almost. But sometimes you just need peace and quiet.
right.
And so I'm at my friend's house because she is working today. So it's just me.
Nice.
And it's delightful.
Mm. Well, I'm glad you're getting to enjoy that.
So, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sorry. I know you have
Oh,
other questions.
oh, no, this is a casual conversation with a friend. But now I did forget to ask you to, or have you tell us a little bit about you and the work that you do.
Oh, okay. So Pens and Proof is an editing and ghostwriting service. I started it in the middle of the pandemic in 2020, primarily because the job I had at the time, I was working at a 9 to 5, and it was really sucking the joy out of my life. It was really hard to have any professional joy. I had a lot of personal joy, but professionally, that was a tough go. So I started the business because I was like, I want to be able to focus on something that makes me happy. And I've been writing my whole life. I'm a trained reporter. I've been a hyper local news reporter for over 30 years. Um, I've done content marketing, public relations, and what I've always enjoyed the most is helping other writers improve their work. And so I thought, well, why not an editing service? So I started in 2020 and the business has grown. And it's been wonderful, like really, really wonderful. I love being part of the news. Again, I was out of the news for about 6 years and now I'm back in the news. No, I'm not in the news. I'm in the news
Yeah.
industry again. As a reporter, and this is an election year, so it's like super exciting. We were at the RNC. We're going to be at the DNC. I was at Vice President Harris's appearance in Milwaukee the other day. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg is coming on Wednesday, the 31st. I'll be at that. This is just an exciting time, right? But anyway, so then with the editing service, I edit adult nonfiction. So I several anthologies and adult nonfiction books that I have edited have gone on to become bestsellers. And I edit children's books. They are just delightful and a joy. And whenever I encounter a children's book editor who can rhyme, I'm like, oh my goodness, you can rhyme. That's amazing. Because I cannot do that. That is not a gift that I have. But those are just, I mean, editing is, well, I just love books. Like I have so many books at home,
Mm-hmm.
so many books at home, that I've stopped buying books because I just don't really have room for them. So I
Right.
read them on Kindle now. But that's what I do. I edit books and I'm a news reporter. That's what I do.
I love that. I love that. And then do you do ghostwriting as well?
Yep. Ghostwriting is so in two different ways we can do ghostwriting. So if you have like a presentation or a speech or a training that you've presented like either at work or for another company or whatever, we can turn that into a book with not a whole lot of heavy lifting on your part. Or we can do an interview based book, which basically is we decide, you already kind of know what you want to write about. We figure out who your audience is and what the transformation is that your book is promising. And this is all nonfiction. Um, and then I'll talk to you. Well, then we'll figure out the outline, right? What's your outline going to be? And then we'll have one conversation per chapter that will be recorded and transcribed. And then that ends up being your book, right? With a lot heavy editing and all of that sort of thing. So by the time we're done with our work together on the interview-based ghostwriting, you'll have a book that's ready to take through publishing.
Mhm.
If we're taking your book and it's using one of your trainings, presentations, webinars, whatever, I can turn that into a book for you with your cover formatting and everything in about 30 days. So you can take like a month to be a published author, or we can take 4 months to be a published author, just depending on what route you want to go or what, because if you don't have any of that pre-existing material, then obviously we have to create it, which is why the process is longer. So there's that. That's what I do. So
Okay. Very cool. So the majority of our audience are entrepreneurs. Um, do you think like all entrepreneurs should write a book or
100%.
yeah?
Yes, and the reason why, there's a few different reasons. When you when you have a book, it instantly brands you as an expert. So if you're writing about, like Shayla, you could write about, and I know you already have, right? Like you have a book, but if let's say you didn't have a book, let's just pretend in this world you don't have a book yet. But you could write about either the operations business that you have or your journey to founding this magazine that you were just kind of doing as like an off project. And now it's like a big deal, right? You have this podcast, you have your magazine. So like you have two different things you could write about. But the reason why you want to write about your zone of genius is because it brands you as an expert. So if and it can do a lot of different things. It can help you make connections. It can strengthen your connections. It can put you on, if you've already been doing speaking engagements, but you want to get on bigger stages, books can get you there. It can
Mhm.
help you command greater fees. And in the end, honestly, it can really help you create some passive income. Because people will continue to buy. I mean, I I, I want to first of all dispel the notion that writing a book is going to get you rich, because that's not really how that works. Writing the book is like 20% of the effort, and then marketing and selling it is 80% of the effort, right? Just like anything, that 80-20 rule. But what I want you to know is that even if you went, whether you go traditionally published, self-published, or you use kind of like an indie hybrid publisher, the lion's share of the marketing falls on your shoulders. Like Random House is not going to market your book. If you're an unproven author without a track record, right? They're just not going to do it. Or if they give you an advance, you have to sell enough copies to pay the advance back before you start making money. So there's a big difference there. When you traditionally publish, you're only making like 10 to 12% royalties. Whereas if you self-publish or hybrid publish, you're getting 60 to 70% royalties, right? So there's a huge disparity. It's, a big difference. But having a book just creates a certain level of credibility and a certain level of social proof that you could build it on your own, but a book will get you there faster. So,
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. That's good to know. I may be reaching out. I'm trying to decide if I want to write a second book or not. That's a lot of work.
it is a lot of work. I hear you. That's why, sometimes the interview ghostwriting is probably a good way to go, just because, I interview you like, because I'm a reporter, right? So, I ask all the questions because I'm
Right.
also super duper nosy. So I'm going to ask you all the questions. And so it covers all the bases, and you're not actually physically writing it. You're talking
Mhm.
it, right? You're basically talking your book, which can sometimes be a better way to go.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Um, so he said you started your business in 2020. What were like some of the challenges you've have faced it, or what are some of the challenges you have faced as you've been growing your business?
I didn't know who I wanted to serve at first, and now I know who that is. I also had zero idea about the business side of the business
Gotcha.
as opposed to the client side of the business. Like servicing the client side was like really not a hard thing, but I didn't have any systems. Like, girl, I was using Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, like any way you wanted to pay me, I would take it, right? And the person who does my taxes, she was like, no, pick one system. I don't care what it is. One system. We're not doing this again. And I was like, oh, dang. Okay. So I didn't have, and then also it's not just about like an accounting system, but then you have to have customer relationship management, email marketing, um, automations and communication systems. Like I didn't know any of that stuff. Didn't know any of it. And so anybody who is considering starting a business, I would seriously recommend that you figure out your accounting, like what accounting system do you want to work? It can be QuickBooks, it can be Stripe, it can be PayPal, whatever you want, right? Pick one, pick two, doesn't matter, as long as they all feed into a central system. And then you need to get your operations in order, because the goal is to grow your business so that you can add a team, right? Like I have a team now. Did I tell you that? Girl,
I've
I have two
heard,
editors
yes.
who work with me. Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'm very excited. Um, and part of it is because I don't know, Shayla helped me set up some systems. That made it a little easier to bring people on board. So had I known that there were people like you who help with that back at the beginning, I think I'd be in much better shape now. Like from a structure standpoint,
Yeah.
like I'm pretty good now. Not great, but better, right? Like I still have some improvements that need to be made. I still have some things that need to be done. But had I known that people like you existed 4 years ago, girl, I'd be so much ahead of the game right now. It'd be crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's the case for really all entrepreneurs because we start off, our businesses because we have a skill set, we're really good at something, or we're passionate
Mhm,
about
mhm.
something, or maybe we're good at selling a product. But what we don't realize is that there's so much more to running an actual business, and we're pretty much taking on 1,000 different roles that, other companies have a bunch of
People,
employees,
yeah,
yeah, people to handle each department, but we're everything in our business. And we don't have the skill set or the qualifications to do everything, but we're just trying and we're learning as we go. And
yeah,
so the same goes for my business, even though I'm an operations person. When I started, I didn't have all of that in place
yeah.
either. Quiet as it's kept, like I still don't have something in place that I know that I should have and that I tell people to do.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean,
but
but also,
yeah.
I don't you think though, knowing who you serve is probably one of the biggest things? Because when I started, I just wanted to help women tell their stories, right? But the truth of the matter is, and this is going to sound crazy harsh, but not every story needs to be told. Like, not every story deserves to be told. And so I really had to narrow, I had to really kind of like from women telling their stories, which is a crazy broad category. I had to narrow it down to women entrepreneurs and female executives who know that they could capitalize on a book or books about their zones of genius
Mhm.
to either grow their business or increase their influence or both, right? Depending. So like it started out really broad and then I had to really bring it in because once you know like specifically who the one person is that you serve, like you can target your messaging to that person. And that was another thing, right? Like when you have this really broad umbrella, like how do you talk to that many people? It's really
Right.
hard to talk to that many people. So
Yeah.
you got to bring it down, which is, you know, um, something that you just learn. Like I wish I had known more about that when I started my business also. So,
Yeah, well that has been a struggle for me as well. Like I knew about it because I've talked to so many different marketing professionals who said the same thing that you need to narrow down your audience. You can't serve everybody. However, it was hard for me to figure out who I actually wanted to work with because I like working in different industries with different people because
mhm,
I'm learning something new. So like operations is pretty much the same no matter who I'm working with. And so the variety and what's fun to me is having new clients who I've never like worked in their field or their industry before. So
mhm.
now I'm learning something new. Like I couldn't imagine just having, all the same clients who do the same work. That's not fun. Um,
No.
and yeah, and it's boring to me. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's what I've been fighting against. Like I definitely understand like it does make more sense if you can target your messaging and speak to one specific audience, but
Mhm.
it's just finding that audience that you want to stick with. That is the hard part.
Yeah. Agreed. 100%. 100%.
hmm Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, the challenges that you faced, we all all face them. Um, what do you think, um, or how do you think your personality traits have affected you in business? So, like as an introvert, for me being more the type to be more in the background and affects me. Like I really struggle with visibility. So
Mhm.
that's how being an introvert has affected me negatively. But on the positive side, I'm a really great listener. And so I am able to understand my clients more, and, be better able to help them. But
Okay.
how has your personality as an ambivert, like how has that helped you
Um,
or not helped
I
you?
think I think my training as a reporter helps me with listening.
Okay.
Um, so I was diagnosed almost 2.5 years ago now with ADHD. Had it all my life, but I'm Gen X, and in the 70s and 80s, ADHD was not a thing. It was, why aren't you doing better in school? Why aren't you paying attention? You're so talented if you just apply yourself, right? So that kind of follows you through. Um, But being a reporter, I think, has kind of saved me in a lot of ways because it
Okay.
does make me I'm curious. And so I want to listen. And so I listen to what clients and potential clients are saying. Um, and it helps me ask them the questions that gets us to the point where I really understand what their need is, what their goal is, and how we can work together to get there. I
Mhm.
think where it has hampered me is not so much the personality, but the ADHD part
Okay.
makes it very hard sometimes to initiate tasks.
Mm.
So as a result, I will procrastinate. But man, if my butt is right up against a deadline, the work you'll get from me is amazing, right? But it often feels like, and this is the illustration I've had to use to explain it to a lot of people. So I'm here, the task is here, but there is a wall in between us. It is long, it is tall, and you can't get under it, around it, or over it. And so you want to get to the task, right? Like you want to get to the task, but the wall is there preventing you from getting to the task.
Mm.
Also, um, it does mean that hyper focus can be both a superpower and a detriment. And it is a superpower because once you can initiate that task, like you're in the task, right? Like you're like, I'm in it and I'm not going to get out of it until I'm out of it, right? And you can come out of it on a lot of different ways. You can be interrupted, which if you want to try an ADHD person's nerves to the utmost, is interrupt us when we are hyper focused on something. Not a good look. Um, or you finish the task, right? And it's spectacular. Um, but the hyper focus also means the task could still be sitting here, but something else has my attention, and I won't do the task until I've done this other thing that has my attention. And I don't care about the task because this other thing has my attention. So there is a yin and a yang to it as well. Um, so that is something that I am constantly working to I won't say overcome it because I don't like that's not that can't be part of my vocabulary when it comes to this, but how to better wrangle it so it works in my favor is what I'll say.
Okay. Very interesting. That's really great that you got that diagnosis, kind of late, but
53 and a half. Come on now. Like the neuropsychologist said when he saw the results of the second test, and I was in 4 hours of testing. He saw the
Mm,
results of the second test. He was like, yeah, I didn't need to see anymore.
mm,
What now?
wow. What made you get the testing?
So after I left my marriage, I knew I needed to get therapy. And so I was in therapy and I thought I had depression and anxiety. My therapist agreed. And so with my primary care physician, I was taking Prozac and Wellbutrin. Prozac is more for depression. Wellbutrin helps with the anxiety part of it, right? So they're together, they're supposed to be like a combination that can work with many different types of depression and anxiety, right? They're kind of a Swiss Army knife, I guess, for
Mhm.
that class of drugs. But it wasn't really helping. Like, I didn't really feel any less depressed. My anxiety was, it was okay. And then my therapist and I were talking during a session. She asked me a couple questions. I don't remember what the questions were at the time, but she said, "You know what? I don't think you're depressed or you have anxiety. I think you have ADHD and you need to go get tested."
Hmm.
She said, "You have to make an appointment with your primary care physician and they'll set it up." But she looked up like who the neuropsychologist was who was going to do it and all that sort of thing. And I just had to go see my PCP and we set it up. Unfortunately, Dr. Leo is one of only like 2 or 3 neuropsychologists in the whole city of Milwaukee. Um, so getting an appointment with him took several months.
Oh, wow.
But um, I went to see him on March 1st of 2022, and on March 7th, I had a full multi-page report
Oh,
of
wow.
my results. So yeah. And so that started me on like not like a constant research. Like I just see things now and then and I add them to like a list of things. But one of the things that really helped me was I saw a creator on, was she on TikTok or Instagram? I don't remember. But one of the things that she said that helped her is that consistency, because we hear this all the time, right? Like the secret to success for entrepreneurs is consistency. Well, when you have
Yeah.
ADHD, consistency is out the window. Consistency is not a thing. We can't do it. But what we can do is be sustainable.
Mm.
So, what does that look like? That means you have a goal, let's say a daily goal of, I don't know, whatever it is, right? Um, for this creator, she puts on a full face of makeup every day. And so her goal at the end of the day is to take the makeup off. Sometimes that looks like a 10-step skincare routine. Other days, it's makeup wipes and a little bit of lotion. Either way, she has taken the makeup off at the end of the day. So she's achieved her goal, but how she gets there is going to look different. So it's about sustainability and not a rigid sense of consistency. And
Okay.
so I've been able to apply that theory in many different ways, both to my business and my life. And it has really helped a lot. So I hope if somebody else is out there who is experiencing that same thing, I hope that helps them as well.
Yeah, that is actually helpful. And I'm gonna think about how I can apply that to my life and to the goals that I have as well. That's interesting. Hmm.
Yeah, it made a huge difference. I was like, okay, so if my goal is to, I don't know, eat breakfast every day, let's just say that, because I'm kind of bad at that.
Yeah,
Well, am I going to have toast or am I going to have like the little yogurt granola berry bowl, right? Like either way, it's
right.
breakfast. Which one can I do today? Which one am I capable of handling today, considering everything else that's on my schedule or whatever? But ADHD is also a kind of a lot like being an introvert, I think, in some ways too, because there are days we just cannot. Like
Yeah,
we literally cannot. I don't care what's on the schedule. I'm not doing it. Like
yeah,
sometimes that's just how it is. Does that create double up the next day? Oh man, seriously, it does. And that is also not great or fun, but
right.
it's again, it's the harmony that we have to create. So
Yeah. Wow. Mm. Well, Heather, I've got more questions and more things that I want to talk to you about.
let's meet at Corner
But
Bakery.
right. Right, because otherwise we'll be here all day. Before we go, I just wanted to give you an opportunity if you want to share where our listeners can, find more information about you and the work that you do. Go right
Thank you.
ahead.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So you can find me at pensandproof.com. That's PENS and is spelled out, AND proof, PROOF.com. You can find me on Instagram at Heather Asiyanbi, and on Facebook, same. So that's pretty much where I hang out.
Okay, awesome. So we'll have your website and your social media in our show notes so people can find you. Um, Heather, again, it's been really great chatting with you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
No, thank you, Shayla. I really appreciate this. I feel like we need to connect a little bit more often. It's crazy that we're in the same city and we haven't seen each other in person in a year. That's ridiculous. So let's rectify that.
Right, time is flying by.
Man, it really is. But thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. I know I really admire the work that you do, not just on the operations side, but the magazine and the podcast is really giving women a chance to shine in ways that we are not often given. So thank you
Yeah.
for doing this for everyone and especially for me today. So thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you. And thank you to our audience for listening. This has been another episode of the Building Her Dream podcast. If you've enjoyed it, why don't you go ahead and subscribe, leave us a review, and stay up to date with what we're doing by visiting www.buildingherdream.com.